I like to thank the sponsor of this video, Fight or Flare Flashlight. Fight or Flare Flashlight has been my go-to flashlight when I operate at the border, and it's got a lot of great tactical components, a glass breaker, a rope cutter, a light bar that has different features, as well as the settings on the flashlight as well, a high beam, low beam, and a strobe, as well as a siren at the bottom that is super duper loud to repel away predators or anything like that. You can get one at fightorflareflashlight.com. Use the code FATHER20 to get 20% off. Thank you so much, Fight or Flare Flashlight, for sponsoring this video. All right, muchachos and muchachas, thank you so much for joining us. You guys have probably seen a video that I made called Girl Cult, in which it doesn't seem like a big deal, you know, for people that don't know, but for those that were in it, definitely know that it was a big deal. And one of the first people to come forward is Marissa. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. So we got connected through a mutual contact, and I think that kind of attests that how big this thing really was, you know, that it kind of included a lot of people. But, you know, I don't want to take too much time, you know, introducing, because if you guys are not too loaded down on what the story is, there is a video called Girl Cult. I would encourage you to go watch that first and then come back to this testimony so you have that understanding. But Marissa, you had a personal account with these individuals. So I let's just jump right in. What was your personal, you know, experience with this group?
Well, I had been a part of the group for a while, and then I ended up moving to LA in 2013. So once I got out there, half of my friends were in the group and the other half weren't, and my roommate wasn't. So that was like my safe zone, was at home. But when I was hanging out with the other girls from the group, I just kind of experienced like a lot of it firsthand. The girl who put me in the group, because you had to be added in through, it was a Facebook group. You had to be added in, and the girl who put me in ended up being like one of the top girls, I would say, in the group. I mean, I think she was one of the top girls. I don't know if they would all agree, but she's a nice woman. She's very like talented and has a lot of skills. But she was like at the top. So I saw what her friends were doing, and her friends were the ones who were being manipulative towards a lot of people, but not all of her friends. It was only like, there was a lot of people in the group, so it was only a really small percentage of the bullies, I would say, the manipulators, because they were very manipulative towards everybody else in the group. But yeah, I went to the sleepover that they had. I don't know, I had like a lot of experiences. I've seen a lot of girls cry over what happened in that group. A lot of those women were very nice and very just hardworking and just entrepreneur like mindset. And they were bullied.
Yeah. So let's actually back up a little bit. So I mentioned in the video that there were several groups, you know, and I didn't know this at the time. I was there, when was I? About 2016. I was in the Beauty and Style Friendship group. You probably have seen that. We're in that. Where it was mostly, you know, beauty influencers. You can attest that, you know, James Charles was in there, Nikki Tutorials. I mean, all these big influencers were in this group. And it was kind of like, it was kind of weird because it was like a secret group, but it was like, so I don't know, like it had the big people. It was kind of like a small group of highly influential people at the time. But I also mentioned that there were other groups out there like Girl Cult or Girls Night In, you know, so which group did you start out in? I'm sorry if I missed it. I think you might have mentioned it.
I think it broke up a little bit.
Oh, I did. Okay, I'm sorry.
I think I heard you.
Okay.
Well, no, I heard you. I was in Girls Night Out and Girls Night In, and the Girl Cult, that was, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's been years, but I'm pretty sure those were like the top people who were kind of running all the groups, right? That was like the Girl Cult. because I knew some of the girls in the girl code group. I just wasn't in that, and I wasn't in the beauty industry, but I was in GNO and GNI, which those had like, I don't remember how many people, but I feel like those two groups had the most amount of people. And then like the beauty influencer group, you know, that was very specialized. And then there was like the leaders of all the groups that was specialized. But yeah, I was just in the two general groups.
And so with the girls' night in, was that ever, this is just a curiosity, did it evolve into another group, or it was just completely separate? Like it just stayed separated from all the others?
Girls' night in, no, that was, so girls' night out was like the big one that started it. And then girls' night in was like the more closer people who were like hanging out in real life, I would say. Like a lot of those, we all hung out in real life. Like it was like a really big deal. And then through girls' night in, there was like another group that was like the people who were like, I would say the mods, right? Is that what you call them? Like
the mods. Yeah, moderators. Yeah, mods.
It was like them. So they all talked to each other about what everybody was saying. And I know this because my ex was living with my friend and her boyfriend. So I know that she was a mod, and they would all tell each other everything about everything that would happen in the group. So you kind of have to like be careful, like who you're talking to and who you're friends with, because everything is just spreading around like wildfire. And that's where like the manipulation kind of came in.
So let's go into that. You know, do you still talk to anybody that were part of that group back then today?
No, because when I went off on like a more red mindset, I would say, that's when I lost all my friends. But like, that's the thing. Like, if I saw them in person, I would be like, "Hey, girl, like, it's not like there's no bad blood or anything." But I don't talk to them anymore. But a lot of those girls that I was friends with, they like, there was something that happened where like they got a girl fired from her career. So that group like fizzled away. Like everyone just kind of separated because like some girl got fired because of the group, and it was just a big deal. So it was like, okay, it was weird.
Right. So let's talk about what happened in that group. So what were the, you know, sleepovers or hangouts? What were those like?
It depends. I lived in LA and then I moved back to OC. So when I came back to OC is when I started really getting involved more with the group, because I had more time to, I guess. And it was just like getting together, like bonfires, a lot of gossiping, like just straight crap talking about people. And a lot of the girls who I noticed, because I was young, and I had a boyfriend, so he was kind of keeping me in check about this group. He really was. I had to give him credit for that. And the girls that were older, like 30 and above, those were the girls who were kind of doing all the manipulation. So like, it'd be like a group of like 21, 22, even like 18, 19-year-olds, and then like one like 32-year-old. And it was like, that girl kind of was like the boss of that little clique. It was like a whole, it was like an ecosystem of just like girl, like just straight, I don't know, just straight girl stuff. That's just, it gets deep with it. Cause like a lot of people don't understand how like girls just, they go deep. They go deep. It was a lot. Like people were getting like relationships ending because of this group. Like sometimes the boyfriends would sneak into the group and pretend to be a girl. And that would cause like whoever boyfriend it was would get kicked out of the group. People would get fired from their jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like one of the bigger things that I remember happening was like people getting fired. Because of some type of little snitching that would go on where like someone would post something and they would find out like a political preference and call the job and snitch about the political preference. You know, we see a lot of that. Is it called doxing? I think it's called doxing.
I saw a lot of the doxing I mean, you wouldn't believe, the audience wouldn't believe in the beauty group where it was like, and honestly, that I think maybe that group has a lot of secret red-minded people, you know, because that's how I woke up. That's how I learned about all these these terms, the cultural appropriation and, all of these intersectionality. I didn't know any of that before, 2016. But once they started, this is the wake up moment for me, was when I saw a girl, she was a Caucasian girl. She was wearing her hair a certain way. And you know what I'm talking about. And I mean, it was one thing to like, we disapprove of that. But it was like they went in giving death threats and you should, go K yourself and, you're slow. I mean, it was abusive what I saw. And I don't think people really understand like the detriment of how like dark it got,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it gets really dark when you're working with a group of women and some of them are malicious and jealous and can't handle themselves. I give so much credit to my ex because he was like, no, you're not getting, this is so much, you don't get involved. Like, so I was like able to stay out of it. But one of my best friends, like one of my best friends, she was constantly breaking down, crying. And I was like, girl, come on, like, what are these girls doing to you to make you cry and be like so hysterical over this? Right. I was like, it's obviously affecting your mental health. And it was just, yeah, it was bad. And I can't even imagine what happened in the beauty group. That sounds like a savage place as well. Right. But yeah, at the sleepover, like there was just so many girls there that I can't even really process anything that might have been weird there. Mm-hmm. Like, it was cool. There was a lot of little local vendors. So I do have to give the group credit for the networking aspect, right? Because I know it did help a lot of these little small businesses, especially in LA. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of women have maintained their success in business after the group, which is really cool. Like, if you think about it. Yeah. But as I said, like it was a lot of the older girls. It really was like the older girls being jealous and like just doing some really nasty stuff, like just saying nasty stuff, like saying like just terrible things, like just bad. Yeah. That group made me realize I don't really need too many girlfriends. Like there's a few, you have a few girlfriends and that's it. But like, right. Yeah.
Did you realize, so, you obviously probably know who the leader of that group was. And I didn't name her in my video for a purpose because of all of the allegation, just to address that with the people that are watching this. The reason why I did not identify her quite yet is because there are a lot of allegations out there that are really, really extreme. And if this is true, I would rather it come from those who want to come forward to corroborate that this is happening, or that this happened. So this is why, I don't want to just put the name out there and pair them with the allegations. You know what I'm talking about? So did you know the leader at all, or did you have interactions?
I met her once at the sleepover that I went to. Mm-hmm. I went to the first sleepover. I don't know if they had another sleepover, but I did meet her there. I didn't have like any type of interaction with her where she did me dirty. But as I said, my good friend at the time was really good friends with her. Uh-huh. So I think that kind of made it so that way, like she didn't like mad dog me at all. I'm sure she would have, but my good friend was like one of her best friends. So I don't know. That's all I could assume is why like she never like disliked me. But she was, that's what I said about the little side groups of the group. That's where everything about everyone would be discussed. And so like, I think that was done very intentionally by the leader of the group. So that way they can like literally have just so much different receipts about people, like what they call them, the receipts. Like they just wanted everybody posted receipts there about just, and I know it was the leader who organized all of those things, but the allegations are pretty crazy. I did see the video or listen to it of what she said to the driver. Mm-hmm. That was weird. I don't really know. Was she blacked out? Like, did she not recollect that? Because that was like some weird stuff, but the stuff is pretty serious.
Yeah. And the thing I'm more curious about is like, and I understand like when there were different groups, like the one you were in, you didn't have as much insight as maybe someone else who was in deeper, but the nefarious activity that was happening on the background, because it just seemed like, there was a lot of, I mean, the allegations are dark in this, and, that I really wonder about if there are more victims out there that, or not necessarily victims that were close, but had a change of heart, that witnessed any of this stuff going on. That's the stuff that I'm really curious about,
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have too much information on that. I think there could be some of your listeners who have recently maybe like woken up.
Yeah.
I do. Some of those girls have woken up to like, the other stuff that we talk about. But yeah, there could be some people out there who know some more. I know they were very low key about their stuff while the group was going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very under.
And, just to also throw in that it wasn't just like major influencers, there were like beauty brands that were in that group, like, cosmetic executives and cosmetic, brand owners and stuff like that. Like it was pretty influential. And not only that, there were like Hollywood people in there, like casting directors and like all this and that. I was like, whoa, this is like a huge deal. So, as I was reading through the allegations, it was like, I read one that where it was like the leader leveraged her powerful network to keep these people in line, So did I break up?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw a little bit. Yeah, I saw that my connection was unstable. But yeah, that's really the the big thing is just kind of scratching through the surface. And I thank you for coming out and attesting that this thing was real. People were in this. This was like a real deal type of a group in Los Angeles. I have someone else that is willing to speak who was there originating with Girl Cult. So I'm really curious to hear her testimony, but even yours is important because it attests that this thing was real. Like there were real events. We really did attend them. And these people were, they had some form of manipulation and control.
Yeah, it was sketchy for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marissa. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, and it wasn't the whole group either. It was the people who were pulling the strings. The other, like there was a lot of girls in the group, but just like a lot of talent and who deserve success, but just got caught up with the wrong people. Right. So hopefully, there's some justice for like the people who were affected by it, because a lot of women's lives were changed by the group. So what you're doing is good to like maybe help those women feel a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do talk to any of them, like, if they feel comfortable enough and they can even come on as anonymous, they're free to tell their testimony. But I think that this is going to start a ripple effect. So I appreciate your presence and you giving me your testimony. So I appreciate you. Thank you.